Well, welcome everybody. This is Photo Talk Friday with me, Don Giannatti, and Sid Ceaser. I'm a photographer in the West, and Sid is in Nashua, New Hampshire. Sid is a commercial portrait photographer, people photographer. I am mostly inanimate objects at this point, and but we both have a history of commercial photography that goes back quite a bit. So you can look down at the bottom, be underneath the YouTube, and find links for all our websites. Yeah, Sid, do you sell actions?
I do not sell actions. No.
See, we got nothing to sell, man.
I don't sell actions. I don't sell water ballasts. I don't sell branded umbrellas. I don't sell branded. I'm sorry.
I'm working on a Don Giannatti ball cap because I know those things are gonna fly out the cafe.
Whatever it is, as long as you put a red ring around it, you can sell it for all kinds of money. I guess.
There you go.
Right.
Well, we're doing these things on Fridays. We're doing them every Friday. Sometimes because we're both working. Sometimes it might be Sid and a guest host, and sometimes it might be me and a guest host. Hopefully we don't have too many times where there's neither one of us here, but keep coming back, we'll be here. I want to invite everybody to bring photographs if you want critiques. We'll be doing critiques, not just Sid and I, but the whole group here. We'll also look at portfolios and websites and talk about business bidding and all kinds of different things. So it's pretty much an open festival of talk here. Sid, how are things going this week, buddy?
They're good. They're quiet. We're still doing this whole art walk related thing, which is a virtual event. This year, our Open Studios events had to be all virtual. So I served as the virtual MC for all of these events, and we went to our local Access Nashua community television, and we recorded a lot of artists doing like interviews. So since people can't come to our studios, we're going to find a way to present people in the comfort of your own home. So I've been serving as the virtual MC, and so I've been behind the scenes trying to do some little promotions for that during the week and everything. And that was good. And then I just had three lovely gentlemen from a design company just came and hung out for 2 hours. First time we met. I've been on their radar for like 6 years, and then finally they started to find some things that they think I could gel within their universe. So we just had our initial meeting, and it went really well. And we talked about work, and we talked about video games, and we talked about movies, and it was awesome.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
What about Steph? Steph, did you finish up that shoot? Shooting the guys doing the lines?
Yep, finished that up, and that was published in their newsletter. I sent you the email so you could see it. It's private, so I can't share it, but yeah, definitely went really well. They were really happy. And I got 2 shoots next week with them, so
good. It's
going good.
Well, that's great. It's great. I wanted to share something with you. I just found these folks, and I don't know if you guys have heard of them, but it's called Parabo prints. Have you all heard of those?
No.
Well, this is interesting. They make what's called an engineer print.
Yep.
Which is a very thin piece of paper, very light. They're doing them for $30 for a 4x3, and they're pretty cool. I ordered one yesterday. I don't know what it's going to be like yet, but you can, for $30, and you can add some money to it and get wood at the top and at the bottom so that it goes down straight. But I was asking my friend yesterday, Steve, and he said, oh yeah, he says, I've gotten 2 of them. He says, I couldn't believe the quality. Just really a step. They're not prints, so you don't look at it and go, well, that doesn't look like my glossy paper print, No, it's not that. It's on a kind of a wood. But they also do, what do they call it? Print sets. They also do, their website is confusing as hell, I will tell you that. Newsprints. For $25, they do this newsprint. It's really printed on newsprint, 17x22, and they fold it to send it to you. So if you don't want it folded, they said, look, it's newsprint. It folds.
Yeah.
So,
yep.
So you hang them up with the folds. Again, a fairly interesting kind of thing if you have a place for stuff. Their books are real, they got a soft cover, 6x6, 8x8 for $18, and I think it's 26 photos. So
if you guys have a Kinko's or a Staples in your area, I've been getting engineer prints through them. And for the 3x4 feet ones, I've roughly been paying around $8 to $9 a piece. And I've
in
got
color.
black and whites.
Oh, black and white. Okay.
Yep. But they're I mean, for $8, they're fantastic. I have them. I have 4 of them that come up the stairwell that come up into my floor. And then I have a couple out in my hallway, and they're awesome. They're so good, especially for the price.
And that's at Kinko's.
Yeah. Kinko's, Staples. Some people say like Costco also, if you're a Costco member, they also give you that service.
Well, my Sam's Club doesn't have a photo department anymore.
No.
No prints, nothing. You got to go online. Yep. And I don't have, I let the old Costco membership die. I used to go there all the time. They were the best printer in town for 5 years.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. Steve used to take one print every January. He'd take that print and have it printed by every lab in town. It used to cost him a lot of money. Then as things got slower, it didn't cost him that much. And then he'd lay them out at an ASMP meeting, and people would vote on the best print. And Costco won.
That's awesome.
Like 5 out of 10 years.
Wow.
Also the cheapest print in town. We talk about all kinds of stuff here. I thought this was worth chatting about. Thank you for I put the link, by the way, in the chat group there, the chat thing. So are there any questions that you guys have about photography, bidding a job, putting stuff together, where trends are going, etc.?
Hey Don, can we talk a little bit about the fake photographs? Did the photographer go too far? That was an article you posted on Facebook.
No, we don't want to talk about that. Has anybody else had? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding, Ron.
I was just thinking, Alexander Gardner back in the Civil War. I mean, during that time, that was the early ages of photography. He was famous for staging his battlefield photography. I mean, Devil's Den comes into mind immediately.
When you have a shutter speed of 2.5 minutes, it makes it very difficult to shoot live action anything.
Right, when you're also having to travel, and by the time you get to a battlefield that's been mostly cleaned up. So,
yeah,
that was what's the difference between that and what photographers are doing today?
I think it kind of hooks into that other article that I published about AI. Okay, and it's funny when you publish something and you get down to the bottom of the comments, and the comments are like talking about something you never even wasn't even part of the discussion, but that happens. My thing with AI was not that, oh my God, it's cheating. It's that if AI is going to be part of our workflow, then we have to understand that AI is the absorption of the massive amount of stuff. So it's going to be kind of akin to pop music, the basis of pop music. In other words, it's going to be everybody's favorite. There's not going to be any stylistic. I think Alex, I don't know if Alex is with us today. Alex said, you're not going to get a Beethoven, you're not going to get a Mozart, you're not going to get an Elliott Carter, you're going to get a Britney Spears. That was interesting. If it moves into, my concern was, and it's not really a concern because I spend 0 calories worrying about it. I just think it's interesting to think about it. If Sid, myself, and Carmen were all standing next to each other at, something that's never been shot before, like Horseshoe Bend, and we all took the same picture. We all stood there and we took it. I'm on a 24 millimeter lens, Carmen's on a 28, Sid's somewhere around 21, 22 on a zoom, and we take the picture. AI will give us back the same picture. I'm not talking about sky replacement. AI is going to sky replace it. That's what this AI is. You don't worry about sky replacement. AI will replace the sky. AI will give you the foreground texture. AI will remove that tree if AI says, well, that's not a good composition. It will remove the tree. I don't know what that does. I know I'm not interested now, nor do I think I ever will be in doing that. But I think that I don't think it's geared towards professionals. I just wonder what is going to happen. Sid?
I don't know. I don't worry about that stuff until someone comes in and sees me working on an image and they're just like, oh, you could just click this and get rid of that tree. And then I'm just like, oh, that just eliminated a whole bunch of work. It's something that's not on my radar. I don't even think about it. I work the way that I work, and I've got a pretty good workflow, and I'm comfortable with the way I do things. So I'm not stressed out about things.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think, I think the times where, say, I've lost a client to someone that, like, I did a gig one time and we were pitching the whole thing and we were in there scoping out the location, and somebody came and one of the employees came in and was just like, I just saw the new iPhone commercial and they have this face feature and we could totally do all our headshots with this phone.
Oh yeah. There you go.
I don't think that's geared to just the average person with an iPhone. I don't see that as a threat to me because it's still not taking care of all the back end. It's just not, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it, but I'm not really worried about it. The only thing I think it's cool is, like the ability to help me on small tasks, and it just makes little jobs a little bit easier.
Yeah. And I'm the same way. I mean, I love, I bought Skylum for sky replacement.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any problem with sky replacement. I mean, Jerry Yulesman did it in a dark room.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, it's
exactly
not,
right.
I love it when people say, oh, it's straight out of camera. This is straight out of camera. I've never seen a picture straight out of camera. I never did a picture straight out of camera. I burned and dodged and
that's
ISO and, in film days.
Right.
I know what they mean, but I don't get married to it. It's an interesting thing. Now, Lauren's talking about an article I put up today talking about, is it cheating to I guess manipulate farther than a certain point? That's what you're saying, Lauren?
Yeah, because he, especially at the Battle of Gettysburg, he used the same body in 6 different pictures because it was the only one that was available. So he actually staged 6 different pictures.
It's like Matthew Brady just dragging dead bodies across the field, Ouija was doing the same thing too. Ouija, when he was doing street stuff, he was moving dead bodies all over the place.
Yeah. Diane Arbus is always held up as sort of a photo reportage photographer. And I made a comment in my post. She has this famous shot, little boy with a hand grenade in his hand, right? And it's creepy and it's ominous, and it's one of 12 other shots they did. All the other 11 are just a kid playing with his toys in the park. That one, she nailed that thing. Now, is that a commentary on life in New York? I don't think so. I think it's a commentary on Diane Arbus. She made all those things. I think we start manipulating photography the moment we point our camera that way, instead of that way.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I have a perspective on the whole AI introduction into photography.
Sure.
I look at it, I can't wait to see the future where AI and AR come together as a tool to help me produce a shot that I want. Almost as if mixing like photo pills and Nitro together, where you get the full scape of what focal length to use, what color the sky is going to be at what time of day, what angle the moon is going to be at, where it will be at on the horizon. Just getting all the information together almost in like an augmented reality kind of diagram to put me in the position where I can get the shot. I don't really care about manipulating the shot after the fact, but I want to get all the tools I can to produce the shot.
I totally love that. And William, I'm not against AI. I think there's a point in AI, and what Luminar 4 is promising is basically you don't even have to shoot it. Hold the thing out the window and click it, and it will then, quote, make your picture. If it's making your photograph, it's not yours.
Yeah,
you can.
That's like the difference between a designer and an artist. You're just making a graphic.
Well, yeah. If my adorable 4-year-old granddaughter takes 3 crayons and scribbles all over a sheet of paper, and we scan it into AI, and AI gives us back a cat and a ball and sitting on a windowsill, I don't think she did the cat and ball. I think the AI did it. I've always used the analogy, if there was a picture of an apple, 2 pictures of an apple in a gallery, and both of them I love equally. It's a still life. Apple here, apple here. I love both of them. One of them is a silver gelatin print. One of them is a digital print. They both cost $200. I'm going to buy the silver gelatin print. I'm just going to do it because somebody made that. The apple is a digital thing, so it can be reproduced a gazillion times and always be the same. Somebody made that print, and it makes it, to me, it's that one little more level of something being unique.
Yeah.
I don't have any problem with the digital. I'm not saying one is better than the other. I'm just saying that it's.
No, I wasn't implying that. I'm sorry if I came off that way.
No, that's fine.
You're good. I just meant the rather than using AI to produce, I'd rather use it as a tool to make the shot happen.
Oh yeah.
I don't really like so much of the AI influence. Like I've seen it on a few of the new smartphones. The AI is basically just like a scene. Uses metering to predict what kind of scene or what's the subject in a photo and the lighting.
And I'm kind of ambivalent about that. I love the Nikon. What's it called? I have mine on medium, and it keeps my highlights from burning out and my shadows from being blocked up.
Oh, the Zebra.
Can't remember the name, but I don't think it's called that. But that's AI. I have it on my point and shoot Lumix is the same thing. It won't let my shadows get too dark or my highlights get too bright, and that's all AI in the camera. I don't mind all that stuff.
Is that the D-lighting, Don?
D-lighting, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't mind all that stuff. I love it. That's great. I just don't want the machine to pick the sky for me. If I pick the sky and put it in Skylum, right? I pick the sky, right?
Mm-hmm.
If Skylum creates the sky and puts it in, that's where it crosses the line for me, not for everybody else. I'm ambivalent to what everyone else does. Whatever they do is fine. But for me, that's the line that gets crossed. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Absolutely.
And what Lauren is talking about is how much is too much. And they're talking about, there was a guy, we all remember the famous shot of the stairway going up with the little airplane in the middle. That was pretty famous because it was a pretty famous contest that he won. But the rules of the contest were no manipulation. And he stuck that little airplane up there and had to give the money back and was very embarrassed by the whole thing because he said he didn't do it, but he did. I don't care what you do. When I look at a piece of art, and I know we've got some photographers here who create art with their cameras, multiple exposures, multiple events that get put together in composite. I love that stuff. I don't do it, but I love it. But that's, to me, different than saying, oh yeah, here's a shot of the beach at Antibes, and it was just like this when I shot it, when no, it's 18 shots composited. So you're lying to me, not the picture. The picture is the picture. Now, Sid, Sid, you're a people shooter, so you have sort of limits to what you can do. Have you played with the new Photoshop yet?
I have not.
Slimming
No.
up the face.
No.
Oh,
I don't do that.
yep.
No.
I'm going to use it to age myself to age 24.
I have a lot of clients that want me to age them to age 24 and, get rid of the waddle. And no, I don't, I don't do that. But I was reading that article and it was interesting because it's, to me, it's a specific type of like reportage photographer who I think shouldn't manipulate anything. But at the same time, if you're like reporting news, if you're a news reporter and you frame something, you're trying to figure out how something looks. So is that not manipulating what you're looking at the time? Like, if you're selectively, it's very like, I'm grateful that like what I do, I don't have to worry about sort of the truth behind that because everything I do is basically made up. Like even headshots is, we're making you look the best you can look for your website or for your company. But I wonder, like, I know news reporters and I can't see that way. I can't just be able to find something real that's news and just capture it without me wanting to pepper in all these extra things.
Yeah.
Well, that would look nice if that was over here. If that garbage totally is like behind his head and you got to keep your head in a clean spot and I would want to move that. But for the sake of truth, you can't do that. And so I'm grateful that I'm not a reporting photographer because I don't think I could adjust to that kind of thing.
I'm a commercial photographer. I deal in lies all day long. We
Right.
put highlights where there are none. We airbrush this. We do whatever we can. It's lies all day long. I think where the photographers get in trouble, Lauren, is that middle tier. You got photojournalists over here, and they even frown on burning and dodging. They don't even want you to burn and dodge.
Right.
And that argument's gone way back into the early 50s when Eisenstadt and those guys were burning and dodging, and so you can't do that. And then you got the commercial fine art people. We can do whatever the heck we want. Whatever. We can change that mountain and put a different mountain in if we want to. Then you got that middle group, the Steve McCurrys. Well, he's not really a photojournalist, but he's not really advertising. He's kind of that middle, what would you call it? Reportage? Maybe?
Yes. Like assignment. I don't know. Like he's just assignment portrait something.
But it's always been, McCurry shot Kodachrome.
Yep.
In fact, I think, didn't McCurry shoot the last roll of Kodachrome?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he shot Kodachrome. There's no manipulation on Kodachrome. You shoot it, you're done. You're simply done. You underexpose it, get a little more color. You overexpose it, wash it out, and that's it. And you got about a half stop either side. And now he's going back through his images and like photoshopping people in and photoshopping people out. And a lot of people are upset. I'm not upset. I don't care, but it changes the image. Like you remember you guys have all seen the young Afghan girl, right? The girl with the thing. It's a famous photograph. Is he going to, I would be upset, I guess, if he went in and, did skin smoothing, added eyeshadow, fixed her lips up nice. That would be offensive to me, but for other reasons, probably.
It's like the Star Wars argument.
What's that?
It's like George Lucas in Star Wars when he went back and added all that extra stuff.
Han shot first.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, the director's cut. I think that, and then he talked about Robert Frank, who is a terrific, well-respected photographer. I think the date was, I want to say 1958 or 1960, or was it earlier than that? Does anyone know? The Americans?
I thought it was late 50s, wasn't it?
Yeah, I thought so. All of a sudden I'm drawing a blank. Was it? That was one of the very first books I ever got. Was The Americans. Was given to me by
1958.
58. Okay, so his pictures are very they're melancholy, they're gritty, they're not happy. They're not happy pictures. They're not pictures of mountains and streams and stuff. They're lost and confused people and that type of thing. When I first saw it, I thought, wow, he's driving around in a car, or riding a motorcycle sometimes, and taking pictures of the world. And I would do that. I would go out with my Nikon and I would try to do that. And I never came close. And it was really interesting when I found out, probably about 1980, it's not what he was doing at all. They were all staged. Every shot was staged. I mean, there's a picture of some guys with some kids with guns in an old car, driving by with their guns. He did that 50 times. And so it became wasn't a view of post-World War II America. This was Robert Frank's view of post-World War II America. So in other words, it was about as real as fashion models in a junkyard. So pretty much the same thing. Doesn't mean the pictures aren't good at all. Pictures are great. If you haven't seen the book, I suggest you pick it up, because he started an entire, all of Steve McCurry, all those guys came after Robert Frank. So I don't think anybody had ever done that. It was he was kind of a Eisenstadt version 2.0. The famous shot of the guy bending the nurse over, giving her a kiss on, was it VJ Day?
Yeah.
Yeah. He shot it 4 times, right?
Yeah. I saw the contact sheet for that, and it was a bunch of different shots.
Yeah. The first one was real. The guy grabbed the girl and did it. That's the story. And then later she said in an interview, no, he came up and paid each one of them $5 to do the shot. So
sneaky.
Yeah. Nothing free under the world. Nothing free. So Lauren, what in specific, did you have something that you wanted to ask, or?
It was just that, manipulation started way back at the beginning, and it still continues today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've told a story about being called by 2 clients in the same day, well, within a day apart. One was a group of people who were working on a government. They wanted to pass a bill that the smelter east of Phoenix had to shut down because it was putting up too much smoke. And then the other call was from the PR firm of the shelter, wanting me to go out and shoot the shelter to show that it wasn't a problem at all. Now, I did not take both jobs. I had to take one. So I took the first job that called, and the second job. But it was a very easy thing to do. If it's morning, I take a picture of the smelter looking east with my camera, and the smoke pouring out of the top of the smelter is black against that backlit sun. If I'm working for the smelter, I'm going to drive past the smelter about 2 miles, turn around and shoot it with the sun coming over my shoulders at the smelter. And when you did that, you couldn't hardly see the smoke. Smoke didn't change. I changed it from my point of view, than I did with light. So yeah, manipulation, having the subject pick their chin up a little bit is manipulation. I think that what he was getting at was the manipulation of Steve McCurry, or the manipulation of, there's a guy on Instagram that has these incredible landscapes. And I think I followed him for a year, thinking, oh my God, where does this guy find these places? I mean, how could you be camped up in a place where the sun rises and there's a lake here and there's a giant mountain with a little snow and there's these perfect pine? How do you do it? Well, we realized later how he did it. When you see the same lake in 3 shots, you go, oh, I get it. And it's interesting because then suddenly, just like that, it was not interesting to me anymore. And that's just a me thing. You know, I really do like to see the work of the photographer. Who else wants to weigh in on that? Who else has a perspective on that? You want to share?
I will. So I think these two things we've been talking about kind of tie in together. You know, I don't believe it's cheating. As photographers, we have to have an opinion, otherwise there's no point to us.
Right.
And however we achieve that, that's our choice. And now when we tie that in with the computational photography discussion, you know, AI, I think that the way that's going to move forward is, you know, people are going to get great pictures, but they're going to lose control. And I want to be in control of my opinion. So I have no fear of that. And like Sid said, you know, if I can use it to help me in any way, do some like menial tasks, which I don't really need my own input on, fair enough. But I just, you know, when I take a shot, there's so much that goes into it that's from inside of me.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything from where I position the light to where I put the V flat to, you know, which angle in terms of the sun, everything. It's also important and so well thought out. I have no fear of AI, and I'm proud of my opinion there.
Yes.
Do you know who Thomas Heaton is?
Thomas.
Yes, it's wonderful. He's a landscape photographer.
Landscape photographer, really one of the best YouTube channels on landscape photography there is.
Amen.
All you could get is him and Ben Horn. You'd be really, really lucky. He did a thing where he showed 5 of his total failures, shots that they failed for him. And one of them was a shot of a little pool of water in the foreground and some really rugged mountains. I want to say Iceland looking kind of thing. And he said, and the reason it fails is there's no light. And he's right. It's a very overcast day and there's no light. It's just flat, right? Well, the thing is, they're saying now, well, you can take that picture and you can put it in there and you can relight it. You can add light. It'll pick up the peaks and you can get where do you want your sun to come from, kind of thing. That's uninteresting to me. That's
more to lighting than that. I mean, it's not just about the sun. There's other lights too. And, you know, how does the computer know that you actually want to put that side in shadow? Because that's telling a story that you want to tell. There's no AI that's going to know what your story is.
No, but the AI will make, quote, a pretty picture.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Yeah. What were you going to say?
Yeah.
Someone else?
I mean, AI, even if you tell the AI this is what I want the picture to be, if you're, in my opinion, a true artist, whatever your definition of true artist is, whatever, but you're going to want to make it yourself. You're going to want to go out and go, you know what, I didn't get this time, but I'm going to get it next time. You know, I mean, we all put cameras in our hands for a reason. It's not so that we can sit in front of the computer and dink, dink, dink all day long. You know, I think every single one of us would rather be pressing that shutter button instead of a mouse button. You know,
there's a few photographers though, Mike, that are a little bit different than that. They use the photography as fodder because the computer is their canvas.
Sure, yeah,
and that's okay. Those are great.
Yeah. I mean, it's still art. It's just not any kind of art I care about. But you know, that's the great thing about this is, you know, it just like with the cheating is all in the eye of the beholder. I mean, if I'm looking at something and go, oh, well, you know, this is composited, that's cheating, you know, because it's not a real image. That's my opinion. That's what I feel about that. Doesn't mean that judges of whatever or somebody else.
And I would say it is a real image. It's just as real as it's X's and O's, you know, or ones and zeros or whatever. It's just as real as anything else. How it was produced makes a difference to you.
Exactly. But that's what I'm saying. That's all in the eye of the beholder. For you, a composite is absolutely no problem. I can't really say I have a problem with composites either. I've done plenty of them. Yeah, they all have their place. I mean, there's times where the only way you can do it is to composite it. And hell, I've composited wet plates too. I mean, it's just called multiple exposures. So
It all goes back to, what are you telling me? If you tell me that
Yeah.
that's a landscape that you shot and you did it on the computer, the picture is not lying.
Yeah.
You're lying.
exactly.
So
Yeah, and I think that's where the whole cheating thing, the word cheating in photography even comes up, is when Peter Lick says, I did this in camera, and everybody's looking at it going, there's no fucking way, dude.
Yeah.
You know, then that's where they're like, okay, he's cheating because he's trying to pass it off as something it really isn't. You know, as opposed to Brooke Shodden says, hey, I composite the living hell out of it. Do you like it?
Yep.
No problem there. You
Yep.
know?
Yeah, she uses the photography as the fodder to make her art.
Exactly.
Certainly
But
nothing
she's
wrong with digital art.
not going to lie to you and say,
Right.
that's straight out of camera.
She actually
know.
floated the lady over the pond. Yes.
Yeah.
Little magical thing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Got her up there high enough, you know, it's all
Yeah.
about so yeah.
But I think that's the biggest reason why people even get upset about it, is because they're told one thing, or they may not have even been told one thing, but they believe one thing and it's something else. Like, especially with Steve McCurry, I had no idea he was using digital manipulation. I don't really care, but I could understand where people would be upset about that, because looking at National Geographic, you think it's a journalistic,
Now
sheet.
he does not do it for that. He's doing it for his own prints.
Oh, well, then who gives a shit? I mean, then yeah.
That's what the only thing is, if you bought a Steve McCurry print of he has a couple of kids running in the water. It was used in the little video, kids running in the water, and I think they're from Namibia or somewhere. You know, if you bought that print 10 years ago and now he's added 3 more kids, that, what is that? I don't know what that does. Sid, how much call do you get for retouching? How much is a question for you. When someone comes in and you're going to shoot them, do you ask them how much they want, or do you give them what you think they need?
So I have a wall back here, and usually the first thing I say, because usually the first thing a client says when they walk in the door, everybody says it, I don't photograph well, you're going to need to do this, you're going to need to do that. And I point to everybody on this wall, and I'm like, everybody that walked into the studio said the exact same thing. And I do minimal. The only thing I retouch is, like acne, or if there's eyelashes, just very basic minimal stuff. The rest of it is lighting and just turning your body and getting your chin in the right position. And I tell them in advance, I'm like, I don't do plastic surgery. Like, I want you to look like the last thing I want is an image of you to go on a website, and then you meet a client and the client is just like, oh my God, this looks nothing like the person that is on the website. For me, it's I want to be able to photograph somebody as they are. And that doesn't mean that they can't wear, light makeup or, a flattering shirt or something like that. But I tell them, I'm like, I don't do plastic surgery. Like, if you've got some of this, we can figure out ways that we can tighten this so that it doesn't show up as much, but I'm not going to eliminate it. And most of the time they're pretty good. There's been 1 or 2 people that I can think of where I've outsourced it because it was something that was beyond my ability to correct. And I just didn't want to, I was just like, I don't really want to do that. So yeah, I very, very seldomly, and I mean, I don't really use a makeup person. I'm like, if you want to bring somebody in, or I could recommend some people. But I would say 95% of every shoot that I've done, I don't even have a makeup person. Like, I like people just as they are. And then, just minimal touch-ups, just, straight hairs and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I don't do any fixer-ups or anything. There was one woman I did photograph a long time ago who had some serious, like, skin pockmarks. And so I went in and I had a guy that's really good with touching up skin. I had him do that. And I passed the cost on to the client because I told her, there's just some stuff going on here. But that was the only person, that I photographed that it was obvious she was going to need a little work. And she was very self-conscious about it, but she wanted a headshot. Yeah. So very, very minimal. I'm not big into a lot of post work.
When I did Creative Live the first time, one of the young ladies that Creative Live brought as a because they got the models, was their talent. I couldn't even describe the pockmarks on her face.
Oh,
It was very sad, really sad.
yeah.
Hopefully she grew out of it. I understand she did, but at that time, I actually got kind of like queasy because they're going to say, do a headshot of her, and they did. I don't personally, I'll do that. I did not want to embarrass that young lady.
Yeah.
For perpetuity, forever. And if Creative Live's listening, please sell them forever. Thank you. I did not want to do it, and I just remembered my beach lighting. So what I did was I used beach lighting, which is the V flat with the hole cut in the middle, and I lit the V flat. She got light everywhere. I put it up, and you couldn't see a single pockmark on her face.
Nice and
Going, oh, the lighting's so beautiful, but the people in the studio are going, how do you do that? Well, if you take out light, highlight and shadow, then you're left with that. Now it was a very high key portrait, but you gotta work it the best you can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I like when I do sessions, I like being able to make the person feel good as they are and not, they're like, well, I'll look better after you Photoshop me over. And it's like, no, you photograph what, like, I don't know. I guess I'm not one of those kinds of things. Yeah. Like if we can do it with reflectors and lighting and stuff, that's the way we do it. I don't digitally alter people.
There's a photographer in Phoenix here who does not let the girls wear makeup. He shoots mostly girls. They don't do makeup. He does the makeup in Photoshop.
And I mean, how many like headshots have you seen where they've just gone overboard? Like just photoshopped every skin, like it's just the skin looks like it's plastic, or they use those weird filters where it just like it just turns them into like they've got saran wrap over the front of their face, like it just
the only filter I use is the one that puts a little pig nose on me. That's the one.
Right.
No, it's they're not pictures that I would enjoy. I would never want to. I would never hire him as an art director because they do look like they're plastic. Have any of you seen? There's a TV show on Netflix that I do not watch. My wife and daughter are addicted to it. My God, it's a remake of the old show Dynasty. Take a look at that. I don't know if they're digitally enhanced. Denise is shaking her head. She's going, no, I ain't watching that. Oh, it is absolutely terrible, terrible show. But look at the makeup on those people. And I'm wondering if they somehow are digitally enhancing it. We've got a pretty good size TV. And this young lady will come and talk into the camera where it's like this. And she's like perfection. Everything from the lipstick. I'm like freeze that frame. And I'm looking at it going, whoa, that can't be just base and powder. It can't be. It's so perfect.
Yeah, it's very creepy.
Male, female, it makes no difference. They are absolutely, it's perfect skin on the, it's weird. It's just weird.
I think that's really going to hurt people's self-esteem now. I mean, seriously, I mean, we already have an issue with, fashion models and, what we're fed in beauty magazines. To have this on top of that, oh my God.
I think that anybody who sits and watches this particular show, Carmen, already has a problem. He may be exacerbating it, but oh Lord, it is, you remember soap operas, Carmen?
Oh yeah.
This is the soapiest of soap operas. They even have the woman who died, and then her twin sister comes back.
Nice.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
I told my wife, she said, oh, they were laughing. They, oh, this girl just died this horrible, freaky, way. And because it was funny how she died anyway. And I said, oh yeah, but she's a star. She's got a contract.
She'll be back.
She'll be back. And yeah, 3 episodes later, it's like, you're back. I thought you died. Oh, I did, and I know who killed me. It's like, oh God.
Like sands through the hourglass.
Yes, yes, yes. Yes. Who else has got
Hey,
something
Dan.
to that route?
I've
Yeah, I
got
have
an
something, just a
anecdote
quick.
for you.
Oh, go ahead.
Sure.
And my anecdote, I went to San Francisco a couple years ago and went to an exhibition of Arnold Newman's photographs.
Mhm.
Gorgeous, gorgeous, 50s, 60s, 70s, I'm not sure how long, famous people. And I came upon a photograph of Marilyn Monroe that he did. And she looked very, very sad. And so it brought up feelings in me, kind of empathy for the life she led in spite of the fact of her riches and her fame. Well, then beside it, there was a big blow up of a contact sheet of the photos that Newman had taken. So she was actually at a party with Carl Sandburg. And Carl Sandburg was in his 80s, white hair, really, really white hair. Oh, there you go. And
Oh, the shot.
yeah. And so the thing that surprised me was and you don't even see all of them here. They're laughing, they're drinking champagne, they're doing exercises on the floor. Maybe they were dancing, I don't know. But everybody's having a good time at this party. And he gets one shot where she's sitting on that chair with him, like the top left. And that particular shot, she's looking really sad. And that's the one he chose out of all of these pictures.
Not only did he choose it, he cropped it.
He cropped
He
out
cropped the hell out of it. Yeah. Oh, Newman
Yeah.
cropped everything.
Yeah.
He cropped
I
it
just,
to that little bit of the face, and
yeah.
then burned in the background.
Mm-hmm.
And and you exactly right. You look at it and you feel this melancholy, right?
Right.
Wasn't
Yeah.
melancholy. She was just wondering if she could get another drink.
I think that they were drunk, and he may have even said something to her that elicited some kind of empathy from her. Or whatever, because his face, he doesn't look all that happy right there either.
I think, and as conversations ebb and flow, sometimes you get serious, sometimes but it is, I guess, once again, a reminder that when we look at a still photograph, we bring 90% of what we see is us going into that photograph. There was a picture a long, long time ago of, I believe, it was Ted Kennedy. Ted Kennedy and his wife were getting, the maitre d' was seating him at a restaurant. Behind Ted Kennedy was another couple. And some newspaper guy took a picture of Ted Kennedy and his wife and this other couple and ran the headline, the New York, whatever it was, ran the headline, Ted Kennedy dines with mafia boss.
Oh my.
There was the photograph, by God. It was right there. Here's Ted Kennedy and his wife, and there's the mafia boss and his wife. They weren't together. He wasn't looking behind. He probably wouldn't have recognized him anyway. But we can be tricked by still photographs. Yeah,
we can be. And I just had never thought of that until that point in time.
Have you seen the
darn him? He cheated.
Have you seen the cropping that he did on Stravinsky?
No. The one where he's sitting at a piano, is that Stravinsky?
Yep. Let's see if we can find.
It's just an
I love that shot. Yeah, there's the crop too. You can see the crop right on them.
I think you can see.
There's the
shot. There it is, right there.
Yeah.
Well, would you all agree with me that the original shot just is nothing to write home about? It's like, did you sit over by the piano, snap, right?
Yeah.
And then this is the genius, right? So you look at that and you go, okay, that's pretty good.
It's so graphic.
Yeah. And that goes back to what Lauren was talking about. It's manipulation. He's
Uh-huh.
manipulating that negative to give us what we like. So
Yeah. Well, that doesn't bother me. That doesn't misrepresent anything at
no,
all.
not at all.
That's what you would do. I take my pictures with a wide angle sometimes, planning on cropping, because maybe I've
Yes.
got a technical issue that I don't want it to be perfect in camera as far as the composition goes. But I crop out my feet, for example, when I did my my flat lay the other day. I was close to the flat lay and ended up with my feet in the picture.
There was a shoot that I had to do, and I needed a 250th of a second shutter sync because that's just what I needed. And so,
Yeah.
of course, a third of my image is black, right, from the shutter coming back on the flash sync. I just moved everything up to the top and shot the job. Crop it out. Didn't matter.
Yeah. Anyway, I thought that anecdote was similar to something you were saying earlier.
Very similar.
It was an amazing
I
show.
love that. I love that shot. Just staring at it.
Here's Diane Arbus's, the kid's got this face and he's got the grenade and she calls it boy with grenade. Well, here's the contact sheet. I don't know if you can see it. Come on. Does it ever get bigger? No higher resolution available. All right. If you could see it, it's just a kid in the park. It's just like any other kid in the park. But when you get something like that, like she got, and she isolates it and takes the context away, we don't know what the hell we're looking at. We're like, was this little boy a terrorist or something?
Yeah.
He's standing there posing with his, little. I think my mom I had to wear one of those when I was a kid. Stop it, Sid. Stop it now. Yeah, so it's interesting the fallacy that we think a photograph doesn't lie, and in reality, it starts life as a lie. We've just taken something three-dimensional and turned it into two-dimensional. That's a lie. It's right off the bat. It's not true.
I mean, everything is a creative and a conceptual idea.
Can be. Yeah.
So it's interesting when you talk about AI, because it's like I'm not willing to give up that creative or conceptual idea and let something else automatically augment it.
Yeah, and I don't think that's really, the more I thought about it, I don't know if that's really aimed at the folks on here, because we, like Sam said, we want to have total control. It's my picture. It's probably aimed for someone like my wife who would love it. She goes, I could go to London and take pictures and it'll fix them and make them really pretty for me. Totally get that.
Yep.
Totally get that.
Yeah.
What happens if you can take a product shot with an iPhone and AI goes in and fixes the corners, takes out all the problems, adds a highlight, puts a shadow, adds a drop shadow to it, and all you did was take a box and set it on the front porch and take a picture of it. that will change our industry. I don't think that's tomorrow, but that will change the industry for sure.
Thing is, with all of these tools, is that we can talk about them in two categories. You can talk about them as in the tools that are there. They're not going away. Either they're regulated or that
they don't do that.
Or they're prohibited in some way, shape or form. Or on the other hand, they remain. And then the onus is on the people who are using them as to why they are using them and how they are used. For example, you now have AI changing images. Imagine product shots, as you said, they've always been manipulated, always been changed. But if you suddenly have landscapes showing or identifying features that weren't in the landscape, and then tourist boards are using those landscape images to sell a product that isn't actually real, where does that line come in? Who is going to regulate that? Is the photographer themselves going to be the ones that say, no, we want to do that? But they're not going to do that.
No, they're not. I was just going to say, when pigs fly.
And quite honestly, the idea of Photoshop Women have been photoshopped literally to within an inch of our lives. Photoshop hasn't been regulated, but the consequences of those photoshopped images have resulted in the AI filters that we now have in Instagram and Snapchat and everything else. And they're constantly being used by our youth. Our youth know that these filters exist, but psychologically, it still does nothing to remove the fact that they are now identifying themselves with flawless skin and with lots of issues. There is no regulation happening on that, and nobody's prohibiting. So there's a lot of things that are happening that are manipulation, sure, but there isn't responsibility anywhere being taken on by either the photographers, by the manufacturers who are doing it, or by any other regulating body. So somewhere along the line, somebody is going to need to come in and say, like, there's certain limits that need to be placed on us because we can't control ourselves.
Didn't the EU, if you use Photoshop in an ad, you have to say it? Isn't that a EU?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
So if you've manipulated it, you have to say it.
In products that are food or things, yes, we have legislation, but that doesn't go everywhere because obviously there are now new tools, and those new tools are coming out quicker than legislation can be rolled out. And yet, yeah, you're talking about before about manipulations of images always being cropped, and the photographers don't always have control over what's being put out. We know that magazine editors have shifted stories around a lot just by the manipulation of, I mean, Gordon Parks is, you know, his photo essay on the Harlem gangs were a, you know, very real way of retelling the story the photographer had meant, and the editor took it and retold that story into a way that was palatable for the audience they wanted to tell it to. And that's going to happen more and more with AI. The tools are there, it's just who is going to own the responsibility of them? And that's going to be an interesting conversation.
If they're used for commerce, then I am all for some symbol or something, because, you know, I used to do fashion. I've told everybody I used to shoot fashion. I wouldn't shoot fashion today on a bet. I don't need to do it. When you go to Vogue and you see, or on television, you see some girl worried about her crow's feet and she's 23, you know, it's like, wow, that's just really sad. That's not good. I don't have a problem with a symbol that says, look, this has been Photoshopped, because no, Andy McDowell, who is now 58 years old, doesn't look like this, you know. But on personal work, I don't want legislation on, I don't want that.
But that's the issue, is commercial work is, okay, you're putting a legislation on commercial work, but the insecurities of the females about their crow's feet are coming from personal work, from AI in personal, in Instagram, in Snapchat, and that's where the insecurities are stemming from. And that's you know, it's a double-edged sword there, is that it is feeding into one another, whether we like to admit that or not.
Yeah, but I always go down, I mean, I just always going to come down on the side of being free to do what you want to do and being free to choose to ignore it. Because if you said, well, these insecurities are hurting all women, I would probably show you 50% of the people who are doing it are women. Just like fashion magazines, I stopped doing fashion magazines, fashion work when the I don't know if you guys remember, in the late 90s, heroin chic came in, and all the models they were putting circles under their eyes because they wanted the models to be like they were heroin addicts.
Strung out.
A girl who was 5'10", she'd weigh 103 pounds, and her agent's telling her to lose weight. And I'm like, I don't want any part of this, right? Every single person that works in the editorial board of Vogue is a female. And they know how dangerous they're doing it, but they do it anyway.
Because it sells for them.
We all have to beware and educate our kids that, you know, to be skeptical of what they see. And I do see one grain of hope in that our kids have grown up with CGI. You know, watch one of the Marvel movies. It's all make believe, and we just really have to teach them that that you can't trust your eyes. What do you call it? Public media, that social media right now is having all kind of trouble with that. You know, with videos that actually put somebody else's head.
Oh yeah, that's the common thing.
Some guy, and
Yeah.
you know, they're fake videos. So we really have to teach people to buyer beware. You know, whatever you're looking at, beware. Don't believe it. There's
And
just
with fashion,
it's all entertainment and it's sales.
Yep. And with fashion, for one thing, the fashion magazines, and I know this is probably a terrible thing to say, but they're losing their clout. I have 3 daughters. Not one of them buys a fashion magazine. My middle daughter goes, "Oh, they're all Photoshopped, Dad." I mean, she's not interested. She doesn't. They don't care. They're not interested. They're very comfortable with taking a selfie of themselves outside in natural light. If you go on Amazon, there's about 300 products of ring lights that will go around your cell phone to make you look great. Okay, if that's all you do, good. That's what I do as a photographer. Put a ring light around you. If that's makes you feel good and whatever, that's fine. When you start, what's it called, frequency separating every frame and taking every pockmark out and fixing your hair and all that stuff, then you probably have a problem.
But that's what the filters on Instagram and Snapchat do for you. That's what the photos that you're taking on your phone do for you. Now you take a selfie on the phone, it opens your eyes, it lightens your face, it puts, you know, it literally draws makeup on you, and they're inbuilt into every phone that you've got now on selfie mode.
I don't have that.
Yeah, there's
my iPhone. I know there's an app I can get that.
There'll be a beauty mode on your camera.
Yes, Zoom even has like a skin softener thing you can click, and it like softens.
Have you seen it? Have you tried it?
So
is it like Vaseline? Just
you look like you're in a you look like you're in a
like a fog.
Yeah,
I'm using it now.
Have a soft look.
Apparently, I used the wrong filter in my picture there. So
yeah, don't use a blue filter when you. Yeah.
No, it's the photo manipulation, the ability to make those. I don't know what they're called. They're fake video. Is it called a fake video or whatever?
Deep fake.
Deep fake. The deep fake. That is going to require, and I'm. Believe me, I'm as far away from, I think we have too many laws. I just don't like laws at all. That's going to require legislation.
That's dangerous stuff.
That's going to, how do you, and the stuff is so good.
What's the difference?
I'm told that they can't tell the difference. And if you can't tell the difference, now you're going to have video introduced in lawsuits.
Yeah.
That's deep fake. This is real. We're getting on to our technology is getting ahead of where our morality, ethics, laws all are. And
but you're drawing the line there on video instead of photography, which is interesting because to me they're still images. So why is the line at video rather than at photos?
What do you mean? I'm not drawing a line on. You mean if my daughter wants to use an Instagram filter on herself, I don't care. I don't want to stop her from doing that. I don't want the government to say you can't put a filter on your Instagram shot. But when you're making a video that could be used as evidence in a trial, then yeah, that's not the same thing to me.
Did you see the thing? Did you see the thing on the Adobe Summit that just went through?
Yeah.
They were having this initiative on authenticity that they were, and I forget who they were working with, but this idea that you can trace all the editing that was done on an image from the time it was original.
If it's in Photoshop, yes, they've added that to Photoshop for security, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know what the problem is? If you flatten it and make a TIFF, it all goes away.
But I kind of like the idea of having some authenticity factor to an image, so that you knew whether or not it was manipulated.
You know those copyright things you can put on your image, right? So if someone downloads your image, the copyright stays with it, right?
Mhm.
Unless you do a screenshot, unless you
Yeah.
take it and put it in Photoshop and make a JPEG, flattened JPEG out of it, then it goes away. So it's
Yeah.
only good for the really stupid people who don't know how to fix it. It's
Run it through Tiny JPEG. That'll strip all the excess data out.
what's that?
Run it through tinyjpeg.com. That'll strip
That
the
yeah, pretty much
Yeah.
anything will take it out if you're going to make a flattened JPEG out of it, or if you make a GIF out of it. Boom, it's all gone. But yeah, that's going to be a problem that's going to have to be dealt with. Deepfake videos are audio where, you know, you can say, well, look, this is this politician saying this, and there's a video of this politician saying it, and you're kind of going, wow, he said it, and he didn't say it. And I mean, of course, what's the old saying, a lie goes around the world twice before the truth can catch up, or whatever, you know. So we're gonna,
Well, but
unfortunately,
you
gonna
mentioned
see it.
legislation on videos a minute ago, Don, but pretty much there's legislation against, I mean, there's already libel issues and slander. I mean, if somebody did that with a politician, a public figure of any kind, you could have,
Public figure.
yeah.
Public figure. You can do pretty much. It gets real dicey. Satire, for instance, satire.
Yeah.
Well, I was doing a satirical video. You know, it's a joke. It was a joke. That's covered.
We just happened to spend $5 million on advertising for it, but that's okay.
Yeah, that's the scary part, you know. So, like I say, I think our technology is running ahead of our morality, ethics, and laws. We don't know how to fix it yet. I do want to fix it so that I'm not looking at a picture of Cheryl Tiggs where she, you know, it's like Cheryl Tiggs has kept herself remarkably in great shape. Don't you wish you were looking that good when you're 58? And yeah, and she looks like any other 58-year-old, but she's been passed through some AI thing that makes her look like she's 25. If you're selling me skin cream, that's abominable, and you should be there should be some way of finding that out and knowing that for sure.
There's another angle we can steer. You're talking about making money. Stock photography. We can take one photo and reproduce it 1,000 times and be able to tag it with several different types of tags we normally wouldn't have, and it'd be more searchable. So every hit, you'd be able to get more hits for every image.
Yeah, that's interesting. I wonder I'm wondering if you could take a picture of, let's say, some boats at a dock, take the picture, run it through AI 15 times, and end up with 15 different photographs of the boats at the dock. Is that kind of what you're saying, William?
Yeah, like sunset, sunrise, nighttime.
Yeah, well,
morning,
yeah,
like
what they've got. They've got sunset, sunrise, you know, shooting at night
blue
with
boat,
the
black boat.
constellation behind it and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Milky Way in the background, out of the ocean, moon in the sky, instead of the clouds.
It's interesting. You know, Unsplash is where they have all those free pictures, lots of free pictures. Unsplash will not allow any photo manipulated pictures. You can't do any collages. You can't do, if they think the skin has been, you know, vaporized by something, it gets rejected. They're all just what I call just photographs. So that's kind of an interesting thing as well. I don't know if the other free stock agencies, of which I think there's like 10 now, it's like somebody comes up
Yeah,
with
I think they're pretty strict these days, but as long as the quality is up there, they'll accept it.
Well, are there any that are doing allowing composites? See, I don't even know the answer to that. Does Getty allow magically composited stuff?
Yeah.
They do?
All paid stock agencies usually have like conceptual composites.
So they'll tell you up front.
No, they don't tell you.
Well, they don't.
I mean, I don't know how they would even know.
I would say they call it a composite or a photo illustration or something like that. That's what
I mean, I
It
used
was
to,
when
I
I
used to
goes-
work as a photo editor, and I was using a lot of stock photography, and I had to retouch it. Like, even though it had already been retouched, you can tell when you look at the picture. I then had to take the JPEG and retouch it again, in line with the company's brand photography style.
And see, the fact that you don't know, that even bothers me, because that you didn't know you were getting a composite, for instance. Because if you're a photo editor and you download a shot from Getty of a French countryside that has been put together, and then you get blasted on Twitter like, that's not French, that's Belgium. You guys are idiots. That's not fair either.
Well, you have to do your research. I mean, sometimes we were finding stuff for different parts of the world, and you had to research maybe about a different religion that's more popular in that part of the world to make sure that, the things that are being shown in the image are actually authentic to that religion. So, yeah, I mean, it was a time-consuming job at every level. We didn't, as a photographer, you should know, you can usually tell if something's been manipulated because you have to be really, really, really good retoucher to hide it. It's really high quality. If you take a solar layer in Photoshop, when you get a curve and you do the maximum, minimum on it all the way along and then stick it on as a solar layer, you can see where there are imperfections in the image. So you can kind of tell if somebody's composited something. Usually, unless it's a really high-end retoucher, and that work's not likely to be showing up in stock.
No, you're right.
But some of the pictures are already photoshopped with an inch of their life, and then some of them are totally raw, and you have to do a polished job on them to make them all the same level.
I wanted to share this before we go. Anybody have a view camera?
One or two. Oh,
Is
you
it
got it.
That's that fancy thing. That's the super fancy.
Put your Canon on here. You can see the little white dots down here. You take one here, one in the middle, one over here. Turn it over. One there, one here, one here, and then you've got 6 shots that cover your 4x5.
Yeah, and then you can
and stitch them all together. And there's lots of overlap to make the stitching easier. That's pretty cool.
Have you used it yet? I had one of those on my Amazon wish list for a long time. And
I have not used it yet. I'm going to use. I just have to figure out the answer to a question that is bothering me after I had it. Is that my capture device is about this far back here.
Mm-hmm.
This is where my ground glass was.
You put it in live view, Don. So I was looking at their instructions. You can actually do 3 different aspect ratios.
I've got the panoramic, square, and
yeah. And so you put your camera in live view and you focus it in live view, or autofocus, whatever. And
so you're not using the ground glass.
You're not using the ground glass at all. No.
So my 50 millimeter lens is going to be about 135.
You're using the lens that's on the view camera, so you're probably using a 210 or a 240 is my guess.
Not if I'm pulling this back that far. Not my capture is back that far. I've just added length to the lens. If it's an 8-inch lens, for instance, I've just added. It's now a 10-inch lens. See what I'm saying?
But you're talking about on like a Cambo SC or something like that.
No, 4x5.
Yeah, your 4x5. So I mean, you use your 4x5 lens up at the front that's your lens.
That's a 210.
Yeah. So you're using
with this it's a 250.
No, it's still going to focus at 210.
But the capture device is.
It doesn't matter. It goes to basically your sensor becomes the ground glass. So it's still going to the ground glass.
I know.
You just moved the ground glass a little bit.
Yes, and if you move the ground glass far away from the lens, you've changed the lens.
No. But what my point is, Don, your camera lens does not know that the ground glass has moved. As far as it's concerned, the focal length has not changed. So the only difference is where you move your standard changes.
So you're saying I don't use the ground glass at all. I take the ground glass off, put this on.
Correct. Yes. So you take that off your graph lock back and you put that in the place.
We'll know for sure tomorrow.
Yeah. So yeah, basically the only thing that's going to change is your standard will be a few millimeters forward of what it was before, but your sensor is going to be in the same position as your ground glass would have been.
Right. Now I'm very excited about using this camera, and someone asked a very pertinent question. It's like, well, can't you just, put it on a tripod and take 6 images? Absolutely, you can. What I'm excited about is getting in for close stuff and being able to use the swings and tilts and being able to use the rise on the front of the camera. And we can get tilt shift lenses for all of our gear. Now you can even get tilt shift lenses for Fuji. That's all really great, but that only does the front. And now I can do both. So I'm kind of excited about it. It's not for every shot, but I'm kind of excited about at least having my 4x5 back.
And the one possible con of it that I was reading, Don, is the large format lenses, your Koppel shutters, don't have the speed to keep up with the digital sensor. So you're probably going to need, maybe even a 3 or whatever, 3 or 4 or 5 stop ND filter to be able to get it down to the 125 or less, or 250 depending on your shutter. Because like my shutters on 3 of my lenses only go to 125, and I think I only have 1.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yes, I see what you're saying. Yeah. No, yeah, mine go to they're all Nikkors. I think they all go to a 500.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, okay. So you just have newer shutters than I do.
Yeah, they're all Nikkors.
I got the old Koppels.
Yeah.
And they only go to 125.
Yeah, my view camera, my 8x10 lens is a 50th.
Yeah.
But and the bellows are out this far.
Well,
anyway,
exactly. You can have some fun with it. I can't wait to see what you do.
Anyway,
show us, post some pictures from next week.
All right. By the way, next week, if you want anything reviewed, like I say, we'll do it as a group. We'll do it as individuals, whatever you want. If you want us to look at portfolios, we'll do that. So just really look forward to Friday afternoon so we can talk about photography. And I'm having a ball. So glad you all could make it. And some faces I haven't seen for a while. Sam is here and Anna. That's great. Everybody, Sid, you got something to wrap it up?
No, just everybody be safe.
All right.
And have a good week and take a couple of pictures.
Have a good week,
care,
everybody.
folks. And look down below the video and you'll see links and stuff. Take care. Bye-bye.
Good one.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.